advocate for yourself with clarity and confidence about what you can do. And it's not just about you, it's about the impact that you can make. So that's how you get out, and that's how you advocate for yourself. And then it will come to you. The right opportunity will come at the right time. This is the time where you need to be stretched. This is the time where it's uncomfortable for you. Take it. It's a lesson.
Welcome to Lead Like a Girl, where we are empowering everyday women through our stories. I'm your host, Jessica Smith, and I began this journey by sharing my life story. Now, I've joined forces with my longtime friends, Jamie and Corlin, to keep this party going. We met many years ago as young sales girls in our 20s, driven and quickly rising to the top of our industry. As the years went on, life happened, and we all found ourselves in new companies and completely different industries, still striving for success in it all. Career, family, faith, fun. Now, it wasn't easy, but we never stopped moving. Get ready for our real conversations, inspiring stories, and our big life lessons as we share it all. The good, the bad, and the funny. Welcome to Lead Like a Girl. Welcome to another episode of Lead Like a Girl. I am so excited about this episode today, and I'll tell you why, because this is hitting home. I had the honor of meeting Dr. Bita a few weeks back at our Toastmasters conference at District 44 in Atlanta, and that day, I won't bore you with the details, but that day, my stress level was through the roof. I got some crazy news that day, and I went from that news into her session, and I just felt that she was God sent. So since then, it has increased a lot. And I know these ladies are really, and you all are going to be blessed by this episode today. So you can find us on Facebook, our website, leadlikeagirllab.com, subscribe to YouTube, share. This is going to be an important episode. If you guys are like us and you have busy lives and you are a human and you get stressed out, you're really going to want to pay attention. So get your pen and paper and please take some notes, because I know I did, and I have used some of the techniques that she shared that day. So let me do an introduction here. Dr. Bita Shahidi is a multifaceted professional with over 2 decades of experience in physical therapy, life coaching, and motivational speaking. She is the founder and CEO of Love Your Life Design and a certified dream builder coach. Dr. Shahidi is also a co-host of Growth Mindset Mastery podcast, where she shares insights on personal development and resilience. We love that, right, ladies? Mm-hmm. Her work emphasizes empowering individuals to manage stress effectively. Drawing from her background in physical therapy and life coaching, Dr. Shahidi has contributed to discussions on stress management for professionals, highlighting strategies to navigate high-pressure environments. In her free time, she enjoys outdoors, running, meditation, and spending time with her family. All things that also help us with stress, right? So that doesn't surprise me. But hey, Dr. Bita Shahidi is also a fellow Toastmasters over the last 2 years. Those of you that don't know what that is, you need to figure it out. So I just welcome Dr. Bahidi today. And I'm just so glad that you are here joining us. And I want to get us kicked off. What has been one really stressful thing that you had to deal with, and how did you get past it? Jamie or Corlin, whichever one of you want to go first.
You're going to start with that.
Corlin.
That's all I got. Right.
I think we just have to Jamie go.
My mom died. All right. My mom died. So incredibly stressful. So that's, yeah. We're going to go to Corlin on this one.
Well, and Jamie, I don't want to tell your story, but I tell your story a lot, by the way. And it's not just grieving, right? It's all the other stuff. It's please
It is the 6 months in the hospital, trips every single weekend after work, all the things. Then it's mom coming home, and then it's we think she's okay, and then she passes away, and then you're the executor to the will. And so then there's the financial stuff, and there's all the things you have to sign, and then you have to figure out what's going on with all the things in her house, and then her house sells, and
a lot. A lot. See what I
There's
mean?
a
That's why I
lot.
called you, Dr.
It is
Bita,
a
because
lot.
I knew my girls and I needed you right now. We needed some backup.
And
How did you deal with it?
I used to say years ago, I would always say, stress is a choice, and I just choose not to be stressed.
I love it.
Right? But really, it's not true. But in some ways, it's true, right? But if you're feeling stressed out, that means it's real for you, and like it means something, and maybe you're pretending that it's not there, but you should probably recognize it and maybe own it, and I don't know, figure out what's happening. But that I learned a lot within this last, like, we'll say 6 to 8 months of life, of just how do you get a new job and learn a new career, and also your mom's passing away, and then you have your kids, and you've got all these things, and like just handling it. So I was telling Dr. Bita before you guys got on here, I was like, I was stalking you today. I love everything. I've been on your website. It is great. Just literally logging into our website make me feel more like, so
You're too kind.
I love it. I love it. So what would you say, Jamie, was your biggest takeaway? How did you not just completely lose your shit through it all? Like, what was your number one go-to through this time?
You and Corlin. Honestly,
Good
though,
support,
therapy,
good
probably
network.
therapy and my friends, right?
Yes,
My tribe.
I love that.
Therapy and my tribe of people that I can lean on, my significant other, my sister, my gosh, my sister. You just can't do it alone. I just think that is like, that was probably first lesson, is like, stop trying to do it by yourself.
Yep. I love it. Core, what do you got?
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't have to be last 6 months, but just what the closest you can think of.
No, I would say back in 2023, I remember being extremely stressed, highly emotional, and completely out of my skin. And I actually look back, and I had to go back because I made a list. I'm like, why am I so stressed all the time? And then I sat back and I thought of, at the end of the year, went back and wrote down all the things that happened, and I got my notes together for you. So in 2023, I completed my MBA. I got into a big fight with my dad, and we weren't talking for many, many months. I was the executor over my aunt's will, who passed away, and that was really stressful. My mom was living in a house where that she had a couple roommates that was very stressful, and I happened to be the middleman. And then I found out that my little brother had a significant health issue where he got really, really sick and was in the hospital, and it kind of blindsided me. My husband's job changed, and that was really stressful. And then
is this in the same year?
This is all in the same year. And then I had a promotion that was a little bit handed to me, which all went a little bit sideways, and it changed and not changed and changed, all completely out of my control. And all of those things happened probably within the same 7-8 months structure. And I sat down, and so you asked me how I handle it. The answer to that is not well.
Not well.
I have no life event, but I would say positively, I wrote it down, but I was constantly feeling super emotional, like crying for, it seemed like no reason, because all of it was all this independent things that happened. But then looking back, I just thought, oh my gosh, like if one of those things happened, it would be stressful. And all those things happened within the same year's time. And it was really, really hard to manage. And I definitely did not utilize or have the right tools to do that.
And that's what this is about. And I want to start off by Dr. Bita just kind of telling us about where you started in this work and how it came about, and just some of the things that have gotten you to this point over the years. All of it. Where did it start? Why this? And why do you love this?
Well, good question. First of all, I feel for you girls. I've been in some of those exact same places in life before. So I get it, trust me. Well, let's see. I started my career as a physical therapist. I always knew from the start that I wanted to be in the medical field. And I went into school. I went to study biology. I was all gung ho. I was going to be a physician. And then, of course, I get a part-time job as a physical therapy technician in this PT office. This was many years ago. We're not going to say how many years, but anyway. So I get a job there. And of course, long story short, that was my calling. I knew I was good at it. It was proven to me. And from then on, I set my mind to become the best physical therapist, not just a physical therapist. So that's why I aim to get my doctoral degree and get a board certification to specialize in orthopedic physical therapy. And I've had a wonderful career, continue to have a wonderful career in that field. This calling came to me around pandemic. Isn't that funny? You've heard that before.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really, I don't even know if it was really the pandemic. I was just getting to that point of this ease in my stomach, like something was nagging at me. There's more. There's more that I need to do. I just didn't know what it was, honestly. And then all of a sudden, I woke up one day and I said, that's really interesting. I was scrolling through my Facebook and I saw this ad about, do you want to be a life coach? And then I thought about it and I sat down and I said, you know what? I've been a life coach. It just boom, like all these years that I've been treating patients, it never occurred to me until I saw that on my Facebook. And I'm like, you know what? Most of the training I've been doing with my patients is showing them how to navigate obstacles to achieve their goals. And we've had these conversations. I've been treating them not just physically, but mentally, and coaching them and guiding them and step by step of how to get from A to point B and beyond. And so that was it. That was another light bulb. And I decided to pursue a certification in life coaching. And that's when I joined Toastmasters, because I realized in order to be able to let people know who I am and where I come from, really get to know me and how I'll be able to impact them, I need to be able to speak and I need to be able to really articulate the impact that I can make out there through speaking. And so my husband, who was a member of Toastmasters a long time ago, suggested for me to join Toastmasters. I didn't know what it was, but long story short, I joined, and here I am 2.5, almost 3 years later. And I'm truly hooked because it has really helped me with my growth. And I continued coaching, and, I have a few clients on the side right now. I started doing motivational speaking, and not just motivational speaking, but, speaking about the power we each have to achieve our goals. And it's not all based on the external factors. Correct? We have an internal factor, an internal power, which makes us capable in achieving our goals. As I was telling Jamie, however, I started, since I joined Toastmasters, and my husband is in the fire department, and he kept asking me questions about health and wellness and telling me that women in the fire really have some challenges. And he started talking to me about it, and that's where stress management came about. We were just
and kudos
sitting at
for
breakfast talking about the stressors that that he goes through in the organization. And he has, he just became a fire chief of Cobb County, so that's huge. Talk about stress. So he talks to me about stress all the time, and we always had breakfast. He called it breakfast with Bita. Every Saturday we would sit
I
there.
love that.
So the article came out of that because we thought, oh my God, we started talking and taking notes, and we co-authored the article about stress management for executive level fire officers. And then I thought, well, this is really true for any executive level person. And really, everything I talked about, Jessica, really you can imply to life. Is not just executive level, but that's where it came from. Long story short. And
I
now,
love that.
and now I'm finding that I'm moving towards corporate type topics. My topic, one that I made a lesson plan, which is being taught at Wellstar for the new clinicians, is a therapeutic alliance. And out of that, I'm working on an article about forming relationship and forming alliances and how that can help us in succeeding in business.
I
So
love it.
that's the next thing that I'm working on.
I
And
love
so there's my story.
I have so many questions.
Right. When you said breakfast with Bita, I'm like, seriously? And was that your husband with you the day that you did the yes? You guys, that's a podcast right there, Dr. Judy. Seriously. I'm just putting it out there. You
We've
and
been
your
talking about having a podcast together forever because we've been having these conversations literally every Saturday. But then he had to mess around and go around and become a fire chief. And now I don't barely see him.
well, all you have to do is see him like once a month and do the podcast then. Tell him that's what you're doing.
I have to wait in line like he's doing a podcast for somebody. He's being invited to do all these podcasts. I'm like, when are we going to do ours? And he's like, have patience. It's going to happen. So it's coming. It's coming.
You're mad about this.
I love it.
Wow. Wow. So
What do
I
you
know, Jamie,
think?
you said you had questions.
Sorry, I have 1,000 questions, but
Please.
the first one, I was just, as you were talking about your husband and being a firefighter and a chief, how would you talked about breakfast with Bita. So like, what do you think would be the number one thing that would relate to what you talk about with him, his job, the females in his job, and the what they go through every day, and how would that like relate to just all of us, all of our everyday women who maybe we have a job with male dominated fields or maybe not, but like, what would you say would be one of the things that correlates really well between the two?
Oh my God, there's a lot I can tell you.
I can imagine. I'm sure. I want to know.
Well, obviously, the biggest thing, the biggest challenge, and this is not just in the fire service, but a lot of male dominated careers, is the gender based biases, right? I mean, there's always this perception that women just can't perform in certain roles. And we can't trust that. We don't know if they'll be able to problem solve or critically think or do this and that. So that's one of the issues that kind of slows down the promotion of women, getting raises, being promoted to important positions. And again, these are all obstacles, challenges. I wouldn't say it's something that you can't work around. I never say that, but it is something to have in mind as you navigate through those obstacles. The other one, especially again in the fire department, we talk about with women challenges is hormonal and reproductive health. I mean, that's something that could be a obstacle for women because, of course, there's the subject of pregnancy. They're going to have to come out of the field and, they feel guilty about it, or they feel like, what are we going to do? They're not sure if they can put them in a desk job type of position.
Yeah.
It's a lot of those kind of decisions are very difficult. And I know in other corporate environment, the hormonal changes affects our performance, believe it or not, causing fatigue, causing emotional issues and outbursts. And again, that's something that could be a challenge, and that, for us, we usually can manage it. But, again, men looking at it going, oh, here we go, There's another bias, there's another gender issue. And of course, women in any leadership, executive position have caregiving responsibilities. They're moms. They multitask. As you ladies talked about, it's just so much other than work that we all the burden that we put on our shoulders for so many different things. And so that's another challenge for women in these positions. Safety is a challenge. Dominated jobs, sometimes you're not sure if you can stay and work till a certain hour. You're not sure if you can walk around a certain area by yourself. You're not sure if you're going to get sexually abused. I mean, you have all those things to think.
Well, you have females, I think, have to, and I don't want to say like just females, but most have to work. That you kind of like forget that some of us have to worry about those things, and not all of us have to necessarily worry about those things. And I don't think, I mean, like you said, I mean, even being on a job site, If you could imagine, you just had a baby and you just went back to work. Okay, now I'm in steel-toed boots and I'm walking around a construction site. Or now I'm having to, Corlin does a lot of the trips where they build houses and they do all these. Okay, so now you're doing the physicality of this job. And like, I just feel like, yeah, you're exactly on point with that. There are a lot of things that pop up for women that maybe aren't thought about necessarily coming from the
Yeah.
male perspective, we'll say.
Yeah. Or talked about.
Yeah.
I want to change gears here a little bit. And I want to know about when we talk about stress, right? In any environment,
Yeah.
whoever you are, what are some of the biggest myths that when it comes to stress that you think is out there? And what would you like people to know about those particular myths?
Well, that's a good question. One of the biggest myths about stress is that all stress is bad.
Hmm. Okay.
As you know, Jessica, I talked about that all stress is not bad.
Yeah.
We actually have a good kind of stress and bad stress. The good stress is called eustress. Eustress is that kind of acute type of stress that actually motivates you and pushes you forward. It pushes you to take action and succeed and get to the next level.
Yeah.
It's
We know about that. We love
yeah.
that kind of stress,
So
right?
it's that kind of, stress that is exciting almost, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the other thing about stress that I think it's a huge myth is that you can make it go away.
Hmm.
And you can't make stress go away. That is just not going to happen. You can manage stress, but you cannot. We are all human beings and we are going to have all kinds of stress in our lives, whether it's professional, personal. But what we can do, what often causes us harm, is our internal response to those stressors, right? So, no, you can't make stress go away, but you sure have control over how you respond to the events and situations that happen around you. And that's what causes the most of the stressful symptoms. Another one is stress. If you can't handle stress, you're weak. That's not true.
Just gonna say.
A lot of us just don't know how to deal with stress. We don't know how to handle stress. And actually asking to find ways to be able to manage stress makes you a strong person and not a weak person. So no, I know a lot of women tend to think that way. And that is so far from the truth because if anything, and that's by the way, I want to bring that up because there was a question that was asked that are women more prone to stress and
Mm-hmm.
how do they handle it. Well, actually women are more prone to stress. I looked it up and I looked up research for the some of the reasons that I already.
The fact that you remembered that I asked that question, Dr. Bita.
So they are more prone to stress for some of the reasons we talked about. But on the other end of it, women are good about seeking mentorship, seeking to be able to share what they're stressing. They're good about expressing themselves in a way that they can be helped, and men cannot do that. Or they don't do that. They want to resolve the issue. They're solution oriented. They don't really go talk about what is causing their stress. And so, that could be a problem. So
Yeah.
you're not weak if you can't handle stress. You just may not know how.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the fact that you said that you can't make it go away. You can
No,
manage it. You can't make it go
yeah.
away.
If the sooner you accept that, the better you'll be able to manage the stress. Because a lot of people think they should be completely stress free, and that's just not realistic. Because
Yeah.
life is stressful in itself, no matter what.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that at least for me, and you guys tell me your thoughts, but for me, I always say women are more stressed because, and what do you say to the women out there that it's like we have full-time jobs and somewhere along the line, I say this all the time. My husband and I never, and don't get me wrong, Mr. Smith, if you're listening, he's a wonderful man. He helps every time if I ask him to do something, all of that. However, there is this unwritten rule that I never agreed or signed up for, but you're the one that makes sure that everybody is going to eat. You're the one that makes sure that the kid takes a bath. You're the one that makes sure that the kid's clothes is out for the next day. You're the one. And And it's a lot.
It
And
is a lot.
so again, and some people say, well, you should speak up and ask for help. But there's this thing again, most women, we're not coming to an agreement. Maybe not all, maybe some of you did come to the agreement, but we're not coming to an agreement when we come into motherhood and marriage that these are all the things we're gonna do. And but it's just known. We just do it and we do it all. And sometimes it just gets so overwhelming that what can we do? How do we maybe we're not proactive. We're here now, right? It's too
Mhm.
late. Kids are already 10, 11, 12 years old. How do we get from underneath this all of the stuff because we're just doing too much?
First of all, number one priority is you have to set time for you. You are important. So you have to make sure that you take care of yourself and place your wellness above all. I always use the same example in the airplane. They say put your own oxygen on before you put somebody else's oxygen on.
Yeah.
That means a lot. There's a deep meaning to that in life. That's I tell parents that, I tell women, I said, listen, you have to prioritize your own health and well-being and happiness before you can take care of everybody else.
Yeah.
It's just and most women don't. They forget. They forget because the priority becomes the family, the kids, and everything else. So that alone, going to bed at a decent time, eating a good meal, even if it's taking 5 minutes for mindfulness, quietness, and just reflecting on how am I feeling? How's my body feeling right now? What's going on? Even that little bit will ground you for the rest of the day. So that's one thing that I'm very passionate, coming from a wellness background, obviously, that I am very passionate about that. I always tell women that. But the other thing that women have difficulty with is setting boundaries. Listen, you got to have these courageous conversations with your spouse, with your partners, with people at work. You have to set boundaries. There is a point where saying no shows your power, shows your confidence, right? And it avoids burnout for you. It avoids overwhelm. We talked about that relegation, right? So, us women, we have a problem with saying no. We have a problem for asking for raises. We have a problem for asking for time off. What do? We say yes to everything. And then we get this way. We get overwhelmed, we get burnout. And then if it gets really bad, you get to a point where you just freeze and you stop doing everything because now you're just at that point where you're like, I can't do any of this. And I've seen that happen too. So
Yep.
you don't want it to get there. You want to have the power, you want to have the confidence to complete your task. These are the 3 points that I talked about in the class. If it can get done under 2 minutes, get it done. Boom. Do not put it on your list. Get it done. A lot of times people think the opposite. Oh, this is going to take me no time. I'm just going to do it. Do it like first thing tomorrow morning. No, 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 no. Do it now.
Yes, I love that. We love that, don't we, ladies?
Yes, get that list as short as you can. And then you have to delegate. You live in a household with other members. You better
Many.
learn to delegate. You better know who can do what. You better have those conversations. You better set them up for success. You obviously don't want to have somebody do something where they're not going to, be very good at it, or they're not going to really want to do it. You want to set clear expectations, set them for success, and delegate some of the tasks to them. Again, don't be such a micromanager. I know some of us women are, because we want to do it a certain way and nobody else can do it like we do. So we just take it all on ourselves. No, 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 no.
She knows her audience, obviously.
I was
here.
like,
Yes.
she's recapped our last 32 episodes of the podcast. So
So
I was
yeah,
thinking,
delegate and relegate. So yeah, like I said, complete when it's under 2 minutes, delegate to others, and then be able to say no. Those three are going to save your life.
Talking about saving your life, I
Yeah.
know that some things that you talk about is how when you're stressed, and I think I feel this too, is that I feel like it comes out sideways physically. that if I'm feeling stress, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
sleeping well. Can you talk about some of those things that you see show up in people who have challenges managing their stress levels, and the warning signs physically that present themselves, and how we can handle some of those challenges and tackle that?
Absolutely. We talked about stress zones, didn't we? So
You were there too. Yeah. No, this is interesting. Yes, please.
we talked about stress levels. So physical manifestations. These are some of the manifestations you feel at different levels of stress. I talked about 4 levels of stress. The level 1 and 2 are still in the safe zone. So you're not really, it's something that you can manage quickly. Level 3 and 4 are something, that's red flag. That's when you have to recognize it and manage it. So in level 1 and 2, you're going to start having symptoms like a little bit of anxiety in your tummy. Maybe you start feeling a little bit of muscle ache. Shoulders get tight a little bit. You come home, you're like, man, my neck is tight. You got to put a heating pad on. Those are, getting a fast heartbeat a little bit. Those are things that you're going to feel when you're at a, low level stress, because these are quick events that you have the knowledge and skills and abilities to take care of quickly. And you get those type of stressors and you get those kind of symptoms, physical manifestations. Now, when you get to the higher levels of stress, you start having headaches. Now, when you start having headaches all the time, that you're like, wait a second, this is not normal. What is exactly stressing me here? What's going on in my life? You start having digestive issues, right? Indigestion, heartburn, IBS, all that kind of stuff. Because, I hate to say this and I have to clarify this, there are a lot of other factors that cause autoimmune conditions in people's bodies, like fibromyalgia and IBS and things like that. But stress is definitely a huge contributor to these symptoms. So you don't want to ignore those things. Okay, that is not normal. If I hear one more time that hormonal changes is what causes bloating and pain, and no. Okay, yes, hormonal changes do cause some symptoms in our bodies, but that is not all hormonal changes. That is up here. It's coming from here. It's how we are internalizing that stress, how we are perceiving that stress, how we are responding to that stress, right?
Yeah, no, that's real.
Yes. And if you ignore that, that's going to end up leading to level 4 stress. And that's when those headaches turn into migraines, right? And that's when those digestive issues get really, really severe. That's when you can have bleeding. That's when you can have, God forbid, cancer. And those things, they're real. They, don't ever think that stress cannot eventually, chronic level of stress can not lead to those things, because it can.
And
So
it's hard for some people to believe that. And
yeah.
for me, I'll give you an example. So I have a condition, and I can't think of the name of it now, where I break out in hives. I just did it 2 days ago. And for years, the doctor's telling me, no, you ate something, you took something, you're reacting. And I'm like, some days I didn't even eat anything. But what happens is I literally will break out my entire body into hives. And
Yeah.
so I have experienced that type of things. And even to the point, and I know for some people it sounds extreme, cancer. I believe that. I believe, and I've seen it happen in my family where people have really gotten to a bad place in their body and their illness. And one thing I know is the common denominator in all of them is stress. So
Yeah.
it's hard.
Well,
I don't know why it's hard for people to
and it's
believe that.
funny that I feel like during that time when I was having all those things happen at the same time, I was getting constant migraines, and I
Yeah.
just chalked it up. Oh, I wonder if they changed the lighting in the building. I'm not drinking enough water. It's easier for us to say, I can fix this, versus the big elephant in the room that's saying that I need to slow my life down and address some of these stressors in my
Well, you
life.
got to pause. You got to pause and reflect. You got to write down on a piece of paper. You mentioned, Coraline, that you did that. You started writing things down. You got to reflect and write down, okay, what's going on in my life? Write it all down. and then see how your body reacts to these things. And okay, now what do I do about it? There's always something you can do to manage your stress level. Always. I don't care if you're in the zone 1 stress or you're in a zone 4 stress. It's just different ways of managing it depending on how intense your stress is and where it's coming from. And a lot of times, once you recognize it, you can nip it in the butt. You really can. It's all about pausing and recognizing instead of keep going and going and going, because that's how we've trained our bodies. That cortisol level keeps on, increasing in our bodies, allowing us to keep working through that stress. But that's not a good thing, because, long-term levels of cortisol is going to result in disease. And we don't
Okay, I want you to, can you do a little squirrel on here and talk a little bit about cortisol? I have seen and heard the cortisol word all over everything, and will you just dumb it down for what is cortisol, what affects it, and how can we manage that?
It's just very short and sweet. It's a stress hormone. Anytime your body gets into a stressful condition or in a stressful, you might not even realize it. Like you said, you break out in hives. You could be having a stress and you're not even realizing it. That internal stress, it can cause different symptoms in your bodies. That's because your cortisol levels have gone up. Now, those cortisol levels, believe it or not, funny enough, in a stressful situation, they go up to actually allow us to keep working through that situation, to keep moving forward. So it doesn't paralyze us. That's what cortisol is. The more we're in a stressful situation, or we perceive to be in a stressful situation, the more this hormone is created in our bodies.
And so what is the negative effect that it has when you have too much cortisol?
Oh, all those symptoms that I told you. Weight gain. When you have too much cortisol, it's easy to gain weight. Why? Because you start stress eating. It gives you the signal to want to bring your body down from that stressful level, from that uncomfortable level. So what do? You think maybe if you eat something, you'll feel better. Or, you want to quickly have these horrible habits to get rid of and create pleasure for yourself.
Yes.
It causes you, yes, exactly. So that's what cortisol does. It creates this uncomfortable feeling in your body, and it can cause those aches and pains. It can cause those migraines. That's where it's coming from. The cortisol levels being up, you can start having different autoimmune conditions if it's chronic enough. If you keep being in a chronic state of stress, then you can definitely develop those kind of diseases. But symptom wise, you're going to be irritable. You're going to want to eat snack all the time. You can't sleep well. Those are some of the symptoms. Migraines, the stomach aches, those are some of the symptoms you get. And then fatigue, chronic fatigue, that's the other one that people don't believe. You're just tired all the time. You don't feel like doing anything, and you feel like you can't get enough sleep. So that's what cortisol does to your body. And that's not healthy. You want to be energetic, you want to be up, you want to be ready to go, and you want to stop your body from getting to that point. So you got to recognize that you are having stress. If you are having stress, what kind of stress, what level of stress you're having. Then you got to analyze the situation and the events that are happening around you. What kind of situation is this? Is it a manageable situation? Is it a manageable and predictable, or unmanageable, unpredictable? You got to look at those things, right? And then once you recognize all that, then you'll be able to manage it properly. Okay, if I delegate these things on my task, then that's going to help this area. If I go ahead and seek mentorship, then that's going to help this area, because right now I just lost somebody very important in my company, a team member, and I don't know how to deal with this. The work still has to get done. Am I going to find somebody else to replace this person that's going to be as good? How am I going to deal with the grieving process that everybody's going through? How am I going to deal with my grieving process? You got to seek mentorship sometimes in those situations where quick events happen that are very high impact, and they take you straight to level zone stress. And that's when you have to say, you know what? I need to talk to somebody. whether it's a friend or a mentor or a support group, or you have to be strong enough to say, I'm going to need some counseling sessions
Ab- And
and
I
be
would say,
okay with that.
Yeah.
absolutely. And one of those things, and we talked about it, was so funny. I was in the front row, and Dr. Bita said, you get laid off of a job. It's like, that's out of your control. And I'm sitting there looking at her like, how does she know? How does she know? Because I got that call that day. This is your last day.
Yeah.
And I think it's, for me, that's where, and I think you even said, you're like, this is not just you're stressed out and then you could start predicting, hey, I got to do this, and you don't have time to plan. All of a sudden, this is your livelihood. That's where I don't do as well, because I'm such a control freak, and I try to do things in a way that I won't end up stressed out, and I'm constantly trying to be proactive. It's those times that I have no control over what happened. And now, like you said, I'm at from 0 to 4 in one morning. It's like, how the
Yes.
hell did I
Mm.
get here? And now I just got to get past that. And I'm going to stay here. I don't know how to get out of here until I have another job. Once I have the job, then I can get back to that, because right now it's just the unknown.
This is where you increase your network. This is when you go and surround yourself with people that have had experience with these kind of events, people that believe in you, they know your talents. You talk to them, you create networking and contacts, because not only that can help you find something better, but you also have to change your perception about losing your job. It's not about losing your job. Sometimes when we ask for a change in our lives, this is how it happens. Not in a way we like it necessarily, but sudden changes like this happen to kind of force you to change directions, doesn't it? So you got to change your perception and say, you know what? Something's better on the way. This had to happen because I'm stubborn and I'm a control freak, and I would have never gone out of this situation. And now the universe, God, if you have faith, I do. And that helps me a lot with my stress management also.
Yeah.
But you say, you know what, this is what's happened. This is what is meant for me. I'm going to graciously take it, and I'm going to go out there and I'm going to talk to people, and I'm going to create a network and talk to my friends and talk to Toastmasters, and not be ashamed or embarrassed to say that you've lost your job, but get yourself, advocate for yourself with clarity and confidence about what you can do. And it's not just about you, it's about the impact that you can make. So that's how you get out,
Yes.
and that's how you advocate for yourself. And then it will come to you. The right opportunity will come at the right time. This is the time where you need to be stretched. This is the time where it's uncomfortable for you. Take it. It's a lesson.
I love it. Thank you so much. I know.
Perfect timing.
Right.
Perfect
I know. Like,
timing.
we're coming up. I'm just, listen, we're going to have you back, is the bottom line, because we have more to talk about. We have more to talk about. Ladies, this is my takeaway. I'm just reminders. I went back to my notes several times, by the way. You were seriously put right where you were at the moment that I needed it. And this is a good reminder. And for me, that takeaway is exactly what you just said. And this is, I asked for this, which I really did, by the way. You said it, but that is really true. I asked for this. And it's like, be careful what you ask for, because the way in which you get it, sometimes it's not, you don't have that much control over that, but you asked for it. And that's my takeaway for today. What do you got, ladies?
Oh my gosh, I have 1,000 more questions, but yeah, no,
We're
my
gonna
takeaway
have a
definitely
Dr.
the
Bita
same.
part 2.
Right.
I know, we need you again. I feel like you could have had like a mic drop at the end of like what you just said before Jessica, because of course we
Yes,
know
we
her.
fired up.
I know. But we know her. I mean, we're her best friends. We like know her whole situation. And when she introduced you to us and said you were going to be on the podcast, we had a little bit of an inclining of like what you would talk about. But oh my gosh, I can see it. Just it's fun. What you have to say is phenomenal. So just my takeaway is
I
love you.
appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. This was so much fun. You know, we learn from each other, and I learn from you ladies. Everything you say, it's amazing. There's always a reason when a group of people get together. I truly believe that. So thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you so much, Jessica. And I'll come back anytime.
Absolutely.
All of your advice, I feel like I need to tell the listeners to go back and rewind this, hit the rewind and go back and write down these steps. And
Yeah.
my most important takeaway of all the advice that you have is that there has to be a level of margin and a level of space that you need to give yourself, because a lot of your advice is think about what you need to do and take some time for yourself and all those things. But if you are constantly in the weeds and constantly inviting all of these stressful things, and sometimes we have control and sometimes we don't, but if we can't say no and we're constantly saying yes, there is no margin to deal with the things that we're doing. And it just creates this downward spiral. I know from this conversation that those migraines that I was having, the challenges I was having sleeping, wasn't because I ate something bad and it wasn't the lighting. It was because I was mismanaging the things that were happening to me. And I didn't know, I didn't recognize it and couldn't call it out, but I didn't know how to deal with it. And so I think that the tools and the tips that you offered today will be very helpful, because we know what's coming down the pipeline again.
Yeah.
And I'm going to handle it better.
Absolutely. I love that. Dr. Bita, can you tell our listeners where they can find you? Because I know that there are going to be people who are going to want to know, how do I get more of Dr. Bita? Because that's how I felt when I left that conference.
How do we get breakfast with Bita?
Right. How do we get breakfast with Bita? Yeah, exactly.
Definitely. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Love Your Life Design, Bita Shahidi, DPT on LinkedIn. You can find me there under that. And you can find me on, what else you can find me on? Yeah, basically on all the social medias. And of course, I have my episodes on YouTube, Growth Mastery Mindset. You can contact me through that as well. But please, you can also email me. Please email me at bita.shahidi@loveyourlifedesign.com.
I love it. And for those that are listening and not on YouTube, it is like we used to say in our direct buy days, B as in boy, BIT as in Tom, A, and it's Shahida, SHAHIDI. So thank you so much. There will definitely be a part 2. We really appreciate this. Is an important conversation. And for all of you, please share this, because if you have not experienced stress, one, you're not human, but it's coming. Don't worry. It's coming. And if you've overcome it, it's coming again. So these are going to be tips that you really need. And one last thing I want to hit on is, if someone is looking for a life coach, I understand that initially your career started with people you were coaching through injury and therapy.
Absolutely.
But really, we've all been injured. I don't know about you guys, but I've been injured one way or another in life. But if someone is looking for a life coach, that is also what you do as well, and they can contact you for that.
Absolutely. I coach people, like I said, in achieving their goals in life in 4 areas of life: relationships, health and wellness, vocation, and time and money freedom.
I love that.
Those are all areas where I have a nice little plan, a lesson plan that I go through and help people. And really, the first conversation is going to be free. It's just getting to know the person and see where they are and where they want to be. So yes, feel free to reach out if you need any a little bit of help, a guide in those areas of life. I'll be more than happy to help.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. And again, leadlikeagirllab.com, and follow us on all social media. Until next time, and we are out.
Thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.